right, I want to welcome everybody to History 207 340 Race, Ethnicity, and Gender in American Culture. My name is Dr. Andes. I will be your professor for this class, and I wanted to start off by just introducing myself. Who am I? A little bit about myself and, why I want to teach this class. First, let's think about a little bit about some of the messages that I received as a white man in America. I was raised with a few conceptions about myself that were taught to me by culture and have oftentimes been manifested, usually unconsciously. One, I was taught as a Christian growing up that all people were loved by God and were equal, but that those that succeed in life were those that worked hard, right? That you could be anything you wanted to be, and all that was needed was a little bit of perspiration, and to follow the rules, and you would get everything that you dreamed of. And that the best way to talk about race was not to talk about race, right? The best way to deal with race was not to uh, talk about race, right? Because this is oftentimes the line that gets bandied around. I don't care if you're white or black or purple, everyone is the same. The reality is that all of these things that were taught to me are also things that I've found out in my own process to be false. Of course, with the exception that, yes, God loves everybody and that we're all equal. But at the same time, there are differences that God cares about, right? And one of those is the differences that define us ethnically, racially, and in terms of gender. I was also taught, and we'll get more into this as this course goes on, I was taught to believe that my European ancestry was so mixed that it didn't really matter. Right? I've done my own DNA testing, and here is a kind of look at that breakdown. But the reality is that I do have a history. For instance, until the 20th century, quite a bit of my European white heritage was not even considered white. For instance, Irish, the Irish part, right? There was lots of thinking in the early 20th century that didn't see Irish people as white people or Germans as white people. In fact, this sort of ethnic European heritage, James Baldwin, an important African American writer from the 20th century, he wrote in his typical sort of incisive mid 20th century insight, explains that, quote, no one was white before he or she came to America. It took generations and a vast amount of coercion before this became a white country. Baldwin writes that there was an Irish community, there was an English community, a German community, but everyone who got here, he concludes, and paid the price of the ticket, the price was to become white. And I've added James Baldwin's important article on being white and other lies to this week's reading. And so you can read that for this week. And so as you're reading Baldwin's essay, what do you think the price was? What did it cost these individuals that paid the price of the ticket to become white? Did they give up a specific identity in exchange for whiteness? What were the power relationships that were established, or the boundaries that began to be policed over what white meant? And so this class is about learning history, right, of lots of things, right? Race in America, right? The construction of race, but also learning about ourselves and about our community. Because this class is happening on the heels of the Becoming the Beloved Community event that we did this last semester. This is a deepening of many of those things that we learned and we grew in, and hopefully we are committed to in this semester as the Bushnell community. And three specific areas are awareness, right? Becoming more aware of our history, not only our personal history, but also of Bushnell, of Eugene, Springfield area, of America. Taking ownership where we need to take ownership over that history, and also expressing agency in changing the things that we can. There's an important message in the Bible from the verse Jeremiah 6:14. And it's Jeremiah speaking to the people of Israel. And he says this. He says, "You can't heal a wound by saying it's not there. Yet the priests and prophets give assurances of peace when all is war. Were my people ashamed when they worshipped idols? No, not at all. They didn't even blush. Therefore they shall lie among the slain. They shall die beneath my anger. Yet the Lord pleads with you still. Ask where the good road is, the godly paths you used to walk in the days of long ago. Travel there, and you will find rest for your souls." But you reply, "No, that is not the road we want." That part of the verse at the beginning, you can't heal a wound by saying it's not there. I think part of that is the history that I was taught as a white man in America, right? That there was really no wound to heal, right? Those things in the past, whether slavery or racial prejudice, had ended. Now we're in the 20th century, the 21st century now. And if somebody wants to succeed in America, they can succeed. Well, the reality is that those wounds of the past are with us today, and they haven't been talked about, and therefore they haven't been on the road to being healed. And so part of this class is learning the history of race, ethnicity, and gender in American history, and realizing that these are wounds that we've ignored, wounds that we say are not there, and therefore they don't have much chance of being healed. Right? When one is hurt in a sport or falls down and skins your knee, my young kids, when they fall down and skin the knee, right? If I just say, "Oh, nothing's wrong," and their knee is bleeding, right? They're not going to have much of a chance to heal. And so in the first several sessions of this course, we'll be using some of the materials that I have gained through some of my own training. There was an important organization where I lived for the last 10 years in Louisiana, and it was called the Dialogue on Race. And it was begun by a woman named Maxine Crump. She was actually the first African-American woman to live on the campus of LSU in 1964. And she has developed a curriculum that is aimed for both white and black people and people of color, black people as well as white people, to have a dialogue together. And it's really an interesting and important sort of curriculum. And I want us to be able to go through some of these sessions together as we learn to build dialogue and common vocabulary as we talk about the history of race in America. And so you can find the link to the TED Talks that she's given, as well as a list of what dialogue is versus debate. And we'll be dealing with this some next week. And so watch the videos that I've posted, read the links, the James Baldwin essay, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Be warm and be fed and be safe.